Exulansis. Exulansis is a term defined as the act of resigning from or giving up on trying to explain something when you realize the people listening can't relate. The good book says my people perish for a lack of knowledge. And I think the hardest part is trying to figure out what's worse. People thinking they know so much they don't have to listen, or me not knowing enough to adequately explain. Either way, I believe that's the power of abuse. All the undefined evidence that questions its existence, or my existence questioning any evidence. I don't know what to call it. And even if I did, no one would let me call it that. And I don't know what's worse. I just know the first time she hit me, I was driving. She was yelling. I was pleading. She was throwing punches. I was ineffectively trying to block, bruised up my arm, broke my favorite bracelet off my wrist, and I don't know what to call it. I mean, I would call it physical abuse, but it was just my arm. And no one can relate to a mountain of a man whining about how violent crashing waves of water women will pierce and erode through their rough and jagged. They only ever acknowledge the rough and jagged. No one would let me call it that. They would call it, hey man, you big enough to get hit. Or they would call it, man, you too big to be getting hit. And I don't know what's worse. I just know the next time she hit me, she didn't like something I said and pushed me off a bar stool. I got up, she swung, I blocked, she grabs a knife, I fight it from her hands, hold her back, but she claims I put my hands on her, and I don't know what to call it. I mean, I would call it self-defense, but who would let me call it that? And I would call it domestic violence, but who committed the crime when people can only relate to predators when they are drenched in fangs and claws and toxic masculinity, but no one ever acknowledges the beasts that'll cry to lure in their prey, and I don't know what's worse. I just know every time I tried to leave, she took everything. Cell phone, car keys, laptop, held me hostage to her hostility till I caved to her cries. I just know anything ever brought for my benefit was eventually used as a weapon of manipulation, and I don't know what's worse. I mean, I would call it financial abuse, but who's even ever heard of that? And no one can relate to that when societally men are only worth what they can provide, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that if my people perish for a lack of knowledge, then I die inside every time I try to explain something I can't name, because it's so much easier to see me as victim or a survivor when everybody would rather see me as blamed or belittled or a bitch for talking about this shit in the first place, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that's why I don't talk about it. Because people think they know so much they don't have to listen. And I don't know enough to adequately explain when I don't know what to call it, because no one would let me call it what the fuck it is, and I don't know what's worse. I just know that Exulansis, exulansis, is a term defined as the act of giving up from trying to... Hey, yo, nothing. Nothing, yo, never mind.